10, a Christmas homecoming lands a former U of M student in jail. Tonight, how attacks on 2 women led to an arrest and criminal charges. But first, let it snow.
And here it is, the snow coming down, accumulating in the metro, and statewide there are some pretty impressive totals.
The heaviest snow in southeastern Minnesota, blowing and drifting east of Rochester. We'll have a live report.
A winter storm leaves its mark on parts of Minnesota. We start tonight with a blast of winter weather blowing through Minnesota. This is a live look at radar where the snow is still falling, with southeast Minnesota prepared to see the most accumulation. We have team coverage on tonight's storm with Boyd Hupert in Rochester, but we start with Laura Bedker and a first look at the forecast. Laura?
Well, hi there, Di. Looking at the totals starting to come in, there are some nice ones. Fairmont, 8.5 inches. Owatonna right up there at over a half a foot of snow, 6.5 inches. We get to the metro and it's a big contrast. Parts of the north not even seeing a flake yet. 3 inches on the ground in the south for Lakeville. So a very sharp gradient as we continue to kind of watch this snow trickle in. There's some bad news for those of you hoping for a lot of snow. This system really have a hard time moving north. Instead, it's moving a little further east. So what that means is quite a bit less in the way of forecast, especially for the north metro. Here's what we're looking for tonight. 1 to 4 inches. Not a lot of us seeing the 4. That will be mainly in the extreme southern metro. And then tomorrow tacking on just an additional 1 to 2. So a quick first look at totals, 2 to 6 in the Twin Cities, but still quite a bit down into southern Minnesota, especially into Rochester where Boyd is. So we'll talk more about this here coming up in a bit, Di.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Well, drivers on their way to and from holiday gatherings found themselves caught in tonight's snowstorm. Boyd Hupert talked with some of them along the I-90 corridor. He joins us live in Rochester now with the story. Boyd?
Hi, Di. Nearly a half a foot of new snow on the ground already in Rochester, but it's as much the wind as it is the snow that's making travel treacherous this evening. Sustained winds of 20 miles an hour, gusts to near 30 miles per hour, whipping all that new snow around. Late this afternoon in southern Minnesota, the weather finally caught up with the calendar.
Winter storm warning, as a matter of fact, through tomorrow afternoon.
That's Kyle Hogg running back to his car at an I-90 rest stop on his way home from Christmas in eastern Wisconsin.
Our plans were to get out early, but we obviously didn't quite make it early enough. On the way there it was terrible, and then on the way back it's even worse.
But at least Kyle had stayed on the road. Not everyone on I-90 was so fortunate.
This is my 33rd winter driving these things.
Tom Whitson kept going.
I kind of like it.
As others parked their rigs for the night.
It makes life interesting.
Tonight's snow blowing came courtesy of both John Deere and Ma Nature.
We were watching the weather and it said 3 o'clock was when it would hit, so we left nice and early, and I think we're an hour into the drive in Appleton, Wisconsin, and it already hit us. It only takes me 4.5 hours to get between Manitowoc and Rochester, and right now I'm about 6 hours in.
A week into winter, it finally looks like it.
That's all right though, at least we're getting it. Finally.
Finally is right. A good attitude by the travelers tonight. They said they were taking it easy. The folks we talked to said they noticed less traffic on the road tonight than normal on that I-90 corridor. The truckers told us that as well. People planning ahead, no doubt, to try and be off the roads when this hit.
All right. Thank you, Boyd. Well, the Minnesota State Patrol prepared for slick roads tonight with extra patrols. So far, troopers have responded to 88 crashes statewide up through 8:45 tonight. MnDOT crews are also out in full force with 12-hour shifts. 800 plows with smart technology have been dispatched to Minnesota roadways to keep things clear. Well, there's no school this week, so there's no closures or delays to worry about, but road conditions could be sketchy overnight. Snow emergencies are in place. We'll have your updated forecast on sunrise starting at 4:30 right here in the morning. Well, more than 2,100 flights were canceled today as today's storm marched across the nation, and half of those canceled flights were at Chicago's 2 main airports. The travel troubles followed a weekend of devastation in the nation's midsection. Cleanup is underway just north of Dallas, just one of the areas that saw tornadoes. Heavy rains also sent rivers running over their banks in states like Oklahoma, Missouri, and Illinois. In all, violent weather has killed at least 43 people since last week. Well, in other news, a 22-year-old Waconia man has posted bond after his trip home from Christmas ended with his arrest. Daniel Drill Mellum faces criminal sexual conduct charges for 2 attacks on women at the University of Minnesota. John Croman joins us with more. John?
Well, Di, this case is getting a lot more attention than usual, in part because of the suspect's parents. One is a medical doctor, one is a lecturer on medical ethics at the university's School of Public Health at the U of M. But he's also actually been an intern for Governor Dayton's office. But tonight, that person is facing serious felony charges. The Hennepin County Jail is where Daniel Drill Mellum spent Christmas. The 22-year-old Waconia man is accused of raping a female student in the laundry room of the Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity house during a party on Halloween of 2014. She reported the crime to police November 18th of this year. Experts say nothing should be read into that delay.
To have the choice about whether or not to report the assault to the police is really a primary importance for the victim.
The young woman did go to the University of Minnesota Medical Center to seek care the day after the party, but the staff there respected her wishes to keep police out of it.
They should feel free that they can go to get that care without concern that law enforcement would be involved unless they choose for law enforcement to be involved.
A second woman told police she met Drill Mellum at a party at the Freud House Apartments on University Avenue November 8th of 2014 and walked across the street to his place at the Flacco Apartments. Later, she fled from that building and called 911 to say Drill Mellum had forcibly raped her. He wasn't arrested until this Christmas Eve as he stepped off a plane at MSP. His attorney, Debbie Lang, told us this is an emotional situation for all involved. There are 2 sides to every story, and time will allow all of the facts to come forward. Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman tonight called both of these young women courageous for making sure that there was enough evidence that would be admissible, at least, so they could bring this case forward against Mr. Drill Mellum. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, John. Well, Western Wisconsin authorities are crediting 3 men for saving the lives of 2 teenagers and a 5-month-old who were in a crash last week. 19-year-old Nicole Stream lost control of her truck and it broke through thin ice on the Apple River. That's when the men jumped in to pull them to safety. Authorities say the baby was unresponsive, but rescuers were able to revive him. A young boy hit by a car on Christmas is still in critical condition tonight. The 8-year-old was hit as he crossed Concord Avenue in Inver Grove Heights. His mom released a statement today saying she has seen improvement in his condition in the past 24 hours. The driver is cooperating with the investigation. And the family of a 12-year-old boy who was killed by a Cleveland officer is renewing its call for the Justice Department to conduct an investigation into his death. Their plea comes after a grand jury declined to indict the officers. Prosecutors say when Tamir Rice was shot, he was trying to show officers that his pellet gun was fake. Today, authorities call the whole incident a perfect storm of human error. Attorneys for the Rice family say they are disappointed by today's outcome, but not surprised.
Someone other than the elected county official who works very closely with law enforcement officers of this community day in and day out should have probably made that decision.
The 2 officers involved could still face disciplinary action. A civil rights probe of the Cleveland Police Department is already underway. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel cut his vacation short to address the latest officer-involved shooting that killed a woman over the weekend. 55-year-old Betty Jones was accidentally hit by gunfire as police responded to a domestic disturbance. A 19-year-old was also shot and killed. His father has filed a lawsuit against the department as its crisis intervention training goes under review this week. Well, back here at home, we're now 6 months into Minnesota's medical marijuana program. And on this milestone, the MinMed company, which provides cannabis medications to 560 patients, is sharing some of the growing pains and successes. Lindsay Sievert has the story.
I'm easily 12 to 15 different medications. I'm down to 1 pharmaceutical medication now.
6 months after medical cannabis became legal, 5 patients share their stories, among them mothers, teachers, an accountant.
And my prescription pain narcotic has been able to reduce by 40%.
And the program's very first patient.
That I am now able to stop taking 2 of the most dangerous medications that I've been taking for many years.
At MinMed headquarters.
These aren't folks wearing Rasta hats. These are real patients just like your neighbors, your moms, your dads.
Patients now manage debilitating diseases like Patrick McClellan's muscular dystrophy.
So now I'm able to wear around my neck this vaporizer pen.
And Jess Blake's brain tumor.
I started to be able to stay alone, problem solve. My handwriting is just like it used to be.
My career involved me to travel, and I was unable to travel when I was diagnosed with Crohn's especially. And now, since the cannabis, it's been 4 months that I've been on the program, and I've got flights booked again.
As I was up, I was with my kids, we were doing things, we walked the dog, we played the park. I didn't miss a baseball game this year. I didn't miss a practice.
Patient successes, but MinMed also fights growing pains like stigma, sluggish enrollment, and high prices.
Maybe Minnesotans, being safe and sensible, are reluctant to overgo a big change.
That's why I'm talking, so that it can be a conversation that other families can have.
Well, besides fighting the high cost of medical cannabis, patients said it's still difficult to find doctors to prescribe it. That's why MinMed hopes to focus on education in 2016. It will also begin accepting patients with intractable pain next August. Well, you have just under 2 hours to sign up for health insurance through MinSure through the exchange that begins January 1st. However, MinSure's open enrollment period doesn't completely end until January 31st. Under federal rules, nearly all Americans must have health coverage, and those who don't could face a fine, which increases next year. Well, still ahead at 10, the Gopher football team gets their first bowl win since 2004. We'll have post-game reaction in Detroit a little later in sports. Plus, a sign of trouble for our Twin Cities Spelling Bee participants, how you can help send them to the finals. Well, there's big news in the 2016 race for president. Former President Bill Clinton will be in New Hampshire next week to stump for his wife. News comes as Donald Trump went on the attack today, saying Clinton has a terrible record of abuse of women. In an interview with NPR, President Obama touched on the negative tone on the campaign trail.
I don't think this country works best on fear. I don't think this country works best on hate. I don't think this country works best on cynicism.
The president was named top man in a new Gallup poll of people most admired by Americans. Trump tied for second, along with Pope Francis, and Hillary Clinton was named most admired woman for a record 20th time. Well, Facebook comments made by the mayor of Superior about Michelle Obama sparked protests at City Hall today. The demonstrators camped out at City Hall with a petition demanding Mayor Bruce Hagen step down or be recalled. Hagen recently responded to a picture of First Lady Michelle Obama, saying she and her Muslim partner have destroyed the fabric of democracy. Protesters insist the comment does not fairly represent the people of Superior.
The mayor made a statement that both breaks with religious and racial freedoms, and we're against that, so that's why we're here.
Mayor Hagen is on a 2-month vacation to the East Coast in Florida. City Council President says the extended leave was planned months in advance and has nothing to do with the protest or the Facebook post. Well, time is running out for Twin Cities Scripps National Spelling Bee qualifiers to find a sponsor. Without one, they could be left out of next year's finals. Augsburg College sponsored in the past, but passed for this year. Families of bee participants say sponsors must put up $5,000 by this Thursday, hold the regional qualifier, and send that champion to the national competition. Well, let's hope maybe they can pull it together in the last minute. Let's go out to the backyard right now. There's a few flakes falling.
There is a few flakes falling. We've collected about 3/4 of an inch here in the KARE 11 backyard in Golden Valley so far. big difference in totals depending on where you are watching from tonight. Not even a snowflake at all in parts of the far north metro. So right now we do have snow falling at the airport. 21 degrees, feels like 9. Not much has changed temperature wise since the 5 and 6 o'clock broadcast, but we have started, of course, to accumulate snow in a good portion of the metro. So here's kind of the path that this system has taken. Has moved a little further east, not quite as far north as expected, and that's bad news basically when it comes to those of us who were excited for a big snowstorm and we're looking for some big snow. Southern Minnesota is still getting a good chunk of that, especially along I-90. There were some heavy bands that moved there. Now it's starting to lighten up at the moment, and snow still falling, will still fall here for the next several hours in the Twin Cities, but it does look like totals have to be scaled back a little bit. It's just having a very hard time pushing as far north as it looked as it was going to yesterday and even this morning. So there are some bands here of some moderate snow. Overall, it's slowly starting to lighten up, and we'll continue to see that as we head into the overnight. But because of this track change, because of the decrease in totals expected, Wright County up to Sherburne, Anoka County has been downgraded from a winter storm warning to a winter weather advisory, meaning less snow is expected. In the pink, Hennepin, Ramsey, Washington, and South still included in a winter storm warning through tonight and much of the day tomorrow. That goes for a good chunk of southern Minnesota, also into most of Wisconsin in the winter storm warning. In addition to accumulating snow is making travel difficult where it is falling at the moment, but we're also dealing with a decent breeze. Winds 10 to 20 miles an hour out of the north tonight will create blowing and drifting, of course, especially in the open areas. Visibility, when we combine the wind with the falling snow, is greatly reduced for most of the metro. Anyone headed east tonight, tomorrow morning early, will be dealing with that, and that goes for those of you headed through southern Minnesota also. So out the door tomorrow, here's what we're looking at. Temperatures are okay and winds are finally starting to lighten up a bit, but we still will have on and off light snow falling for a good chunk of the morning tomorrow. Here's what totals are looking like out the door by tomorrow morning. Central, South Metro, 3 to 4 inch totals, already 3 inches on the ground in Lakeville here tonight. And for the North Metro, West Metro especially, we're looking at a little bit less than that by tomorrow morning. We tack on another inch or two through the day, but accumulations, additional ones, will be a bit less. Here in this medium color blue, this is 3 to 6 inches, 6 plus is down again into the very far South Metro. Statewide, here's what we're looking at. Near an inch in St. Cloud, light totals for Wilmer over into the Marshall area. Along I-90, where we've already seen most of the accumulation, that's where those 6 to 10 inch amounts. Fairmont at 8.5 inches. Parts of in and around Rochester at right near 6 inches, also Owatonna at 6.5. So this is the big snow event, though. The rest of the 7-day forecast is pretty quiet. 24 with just a few flurries as we head through Wednesday. Thursday is the coldest day of our 7-day forecast, but some nice quiet weather to enjoy a little bit of some fresh snow on the ground, and good travel weather for those of you who are out and about celebrating New Year's. Both New Year's Eve and New Year's Day do look pretty quiet, Di.
Thank you, Laura. Well, coming up, fresh off their win, the Vikings prepare for the Packers in what will be another primetime matchup. Plus, the Minnesota Wild in action tonight at the X. Dave Schwartz has highlights next in sports.
KARE 11 Sports from the Renters Warehouse Sports Desk.
On a night in which they get their first bowl win since 2004, we also find out the Gopher football team has a new offensive coordinator. According to the Star Tribune, Tracy Clays is close to hiring Lakeville graduate Jay Johnson from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Quick Lane Bowl this afternoon in Michigan. Jerry Kill on hand to watch the Gophers play Central Michigan in the Quick Lane. Gophers take lead in the second. That's the Quick Lane. Mitch Leidner, KJ May, 11-yard strike. Gophers up 10-7. Jump to the fourth quarter now, and Leidner calls out his own number, goes in for the go-ahead 13-yard touchdown, and he dabs to boot. There it is. The Gophers rally back to beat the Chippewas 21-14. They are your Quick Lane Bowl champions. Mitch Leidner, the game MVP.
We were really confident as an offensive group, I'd say, when you walk into that huddle and you see looks on guys' faces, you could tell everyone was ready to go down and score.
They worked hard to prepare for this, and they've been in that same situation, and I think we've enjoyed being around each other the last 10 days. Even practices have went well, and so they weren't going to let anything get in their way there if we got a chance for one last drive at the end.
Mike Yo said earlier today that his team had to score early in games tonight. They not only do that, they keep up an offensive onslaught against one of the best goaltenders in the league in Detroit, Wild hosting the Red Wings. First period, check this out. Charlie Coyle with a beautiful deke and goes top shelf around. Watch it again. Get him a napkin because that is absolutely filthy. Wild go up 1-0. Third period, Wild in the power play. Matt Dumba's shot is blocked. Mikko Koivu there for the rebound. First of his 2 goals, the second was an empty netter. Devin Dubnyk plays very well tonight. Wild get the win at home over the Red Wings 3-1. The Spurs may be perfect at home this year, but you can make an argument that the Wolves beat themselves tonight as they lose by 6, but miss 10 free throws in the game. Wolves hang around for most of the game, tied at 45 in the second. Andrew Wiggins gets the steal. The easy putback, game high 18 points for Wiggins. Fourth quarter, Wolves down 5. Ricky Rubio, little razzle-dazzle off the backboard. Karl Anthony Towns with the finish. 10 points, 12 boards for Towns, but the Wolves lose 101-95. The Green Bay Packers don't lose often, and it's rare that they get completely blown out like they did last night, which is why the Vikings expect a pretty ornery squad to take the field on Sunday at Lambeau Field. They lost 38-8 yesterday in Arizona, setting up a one-game winner-take-all matchup with the Vikings Sunday night in Green Bay for the division title. The last time the Vikings faced the Packers, it was on the tail end of a 3-game losing skid for the Pack, and they played like a team desperate to right the ship. Mike Zimmer says after yesterday's loss, he expects a similar team on Sunday in Green Bay.
The last time we played them, I think they lost 3 in a row. So that's, they'll play good. There's no doubt about that. And the guy still looks like a surgeon to me when he throws the ball. He's accurate and scrambles around, and it just kind of got out of hand. The score really, to me, was not indicative of how they were playing. So I have a lot of respect for him.
Hopefully a better game on Sunday night, and it's Sunday Night Football as well. You can watch it right here on KARE 11. That's going to do it for sports. KARE 11 News continues after this.
Well, a Twin Cities teacher whose cold weather videos went viral has a new talent. Take a look. Nathan Ziegler posted this video of his custom golden gopher pancake designs to YouTube yesterday. It received more than 10,000 views in 24 hours. So he's got other pancake art as well. They include Star Wars characters, winter favorites, and Minnesota Vikings designs just in time for the rivalry week with the Packers. Wow, very talented. We like that. Come cook for us sometime.
Well, I can do the V.